Such an exciting weekend for me. It's my third game in a row. I was at Arkansas Ole Miss 2 weeks ago. I was at Ole Miss Georgia last week. Obviously, tomorrow or Saturday, I'll be at this game. And the team I wanted to win well, in the first two of these games, they won. And then I went to the Lions Texans game on Sunday. I forgot about that one. And I wanted the Lions, and the Lions won. So right now I'm 3-0, cheering for the team that I want to win, and having them actually have that pleasant feeling for me at the end of the day. I went to one Nebraska game this season. It was in Lincoln against Colorado, and it ended up being a positive outcome as well. So I'm optimistic that maybe I'm the good luck charm. Maybe I can finally have a season where I watch the team I want to win more often than they don't. So exciting times, big weekend, but bigger news than just this weekend. Nebraska landed a new commitment. This wasn't a surprise. This was an expectation. This was something that you could see coming from a mile away if you know anything about recruiting, and especially if you could tell the trend in different players not being fully committed. When I talk about being fully committed, I mean someone who's not ride or die with their school so hard that they shut down their recruitment. Dawson Merritt, what is he? The fourth best player in Kansas, top 120 player nationally according to On3, and number 14 edge. He was committed to Bama for a minute, and then today, actually I think it was about 15 minutes ago, he announced that he'd be flipping to Nebraska. There's the graphic. It looks great. Love to see these guys in all red. I know we aren't a fan of the single colors because people think it's a jinx, but whatever it takes to land these guys. Maybe he liked the uniforms. All I know is Nebraska has now locked in the top player in their class. They have a top 20 class for, what is this, 2025? And he is one slot higher than Christian Jones. So look at that. The defense leads the way with the three top players in this class so far being Dawson, Christian Jones, and Malcolm Simpson. And, they aren't done yet. I saw something that said Nebraska could go after a corner that's highly rated from Hawaii. And obviously, they're trying to get Michael Terry from Texas, who right now is a Texas lean, but he's another one. He isn't fully committed to Texas, doesn't feel like, because he's still flirting with that idea of Nebraska. And the experts are reporting that Nebraska is still very alive and very well could flip Michael Terry. So Dawson Merritt's another great recruit to add, but he's not the last one. They're going to continue to add more guys. And this is just an exciting time because although Nebraska struggled, although Matt Rule hasn't gotten the wins he wants, and, we've been a little bit frustrated as a fan base for a year two program that we thought would be increasing their production. We're seeing that recruits still believe in the vision. They still believe in their opportunity. And it gives you hope, and it gives you a reason to think, man, maybe Nebraska, although they're not as successful as we want them to be right now, maybe they are on the right track. Wins and losses don't always equate to them going in the right direction. But I will tell you, recruiting does. When you can land players and take them from schools like Alabama, who's much more established, who will allow a player to have an opportunity to go to the NFL. I mean, it's almost a guarantee versus a place like Nebraska where we don't even know who the DC is for next year, right? It's really interesting to think, what was it that made this guy want to flip? I'm going to guess had to be the relationship with the coaches, right? You're going to a place like Nebraska where you're not a proven winner, you're not a proven NFL guy. The development hasn't been there for everybody who's come through those doors. But if you buy into the family values and you buy into what this coaching staff says the pathway is for you to obviously start to be successful and to eventually get to the NFL, then it's good enough for me. So welcome to the stream, guys. I'm excited for obvious reasons today because you're getting big news out of Lincoln and you've got a big game coming up. We've talked about it all week, but Dana Holgerson is the new offensive coordinator. And Jonathan, thank you for the $5 super chat, says, will our new OC make that much of a difference? Or what's your prediction? I personally think we will see no change. I think that's a very, very pessimistic view to have. I think that there's a reason to be hesitant, and there's a reason to not think that there's going to be a huge makeover. But I think when you say that you've got a guy coming in who has 15 years of experience as an offensive coordinator, maybe more. I think he's been an OC since like 2006 or something. When you've got a guy with almost 20 years of experience, to say that he's going to come in and not have any change over this offense when they've been preparing with him for the last 10, 12 days, whatever it's been, I don't think that's fair. I think you got to really look at this and say, okay, well, what could he have done? Well, I can tell you there were glaring issues on this offense. And if he was to address them, the first one would probably be getting Dylan Raiola to check down a lot more often than he does, to go with his first option, to go with the short option, to go with the guy who's available when he is still protected by this offensive line. Nebraska's biggest downfall for Dylan, at least on this offense, has been not being able to give him the time he needs to push the ball downfield. You see him take sacks, you see him with pressure in his face trying to throw it, and that obviously causes problems. But if Dana Holgorsen says, hey, here's the new rule. If there's somebody open, you fire it. I know there might be a better option if you wait another 2 seconds, but the way the line's played, we don't got another 2 seconds. It's now or never. You want to take the sack, you want to get hit, you want an incompletion, you can hold on to it, but you need to get this ball out faster. I think that change alone is going to make this offense more effective. It's going to make it look more dynamic. It's going to keep the defense guessing. They don't have to just rush they can't just rush every single play, because if they take their linebackers out of position or they don't have anybody in zone over the middle, then the running back or the short receiver is going to catch it 3-4 yards downfield and make a play upfield. So think about this. Nebraska has all of these weapons and all of these playmakers. And the one thing that we talked about before the season started, or after the first couple games, Dylan Raiola is a distributor. He is not a playmaker. He's meant to get the ball to guys who can make plays downfield. He's meant to get the balls into guys' hands like Ja'Cory Barney, Jalen Lloyd, Isaiah Nayor, who are good with it after the catch. He hasn't been able to do that recently. He gets it to Ja'Cory Barney plenty. But what other receivers do you see making plays after it? Never. It's rare. Thomas Fidone once in a while on those short routes or crossing routes. But for the most part, when he's firing it to Jamal Banks or to Isaiah Nayor, it's catch, get tackled immediately. Or it's don't even get the ball because there's a DB on you and we're trying to throw it 15 yards downfield, right? So I'm optimistic for that one reason alone, and I do think we're going to see a change. Again, I'm skeptical in saying that we're not going to see I'm skeptical in saying that we're going to see a complete turnaround and this is going to be a 9-win team or an 8-win team. I think that's still a reach. I think there's still issues systematically at Nebraska with their defense and their offense as a whole that need to be addressed, and it's going to take an off season to fix it. But for now, I think there's enough to get them to that 6-win mark. No one knows, truthfully, though. No one knows what the real answer is. I was on this guy Gabe's channel. Let me pull this up really quick. Where is Gabe? So Gabe, known as the Trojan Blade, he opened his video today, his game preview video, and he said, if you're making a prediction, it's ridiculous because no one knows what's going to happen. You've got new variables on both offenses, a new quarterback and a new offensive coordinator, and you can't actually say that you know how it's going to go with either team. So in my head, this is a complete toss-up. That was his point in this video. And if you guys want to check out a USC fan's perspective, Gabe has a great channel over there, Trojan Blade. Would have had him on for our live stream last night, but unfortunately he doesn't have a visual setup yet, so he wasn't ready. I was just looking through some of these comments that USC fans were saying on the channel. This one says, we haven't been able to get pressure on opposing QBs all year. That's a positive sign. Nebraska obviously has struggled protecting their quarterback at times, and they have had struggles with the run game. So maybe having a weaker defensive line to go against, hopefully that will help. Andrew says, we're going against the legendary QB, Dylan Mahomes Glazer Raiola. I'm hoping for some long balls using Maiava's big arm to our advantage. Jump balls to Deuce and Jacoby. Yeah, their receivers can go up and get it. They have high ceiling receivers. This one says, why do you have Nebraska scoring 28 points when they only average 23 a game? And USC's defense is giving up 22 points a game. Nebraska's OC calling plays, or they have a new OC calling plays. How much of a difference can he make in 1 week? And that was the point that Jonathan made before, right? How much of a difference can he make? None of us know. But I do think, outside of just these comments alone, the sentiments over at USC, at least from what I've heard and talked to people about, is that they think, is my camera glitching? Looks like my camera's glitching. Hang on. Turn that off and on. Hopefully that fixes things. Let's see. Oh, what happened? 1, 2, 3. Sorry, bear with me. I want to make sure that it's not shaky for you. I had that happen one time. Okay, there we go. It's better. The sentiments from USC fans are, is that they want to run the ball, and they think the only way they can beat Nebraska is if they run the ball. because that's the specialty on their offense, and they just haven't been able to maximize that. They've had success with Woody Marks, but they haven't been as consistent as they would hope. It's kind of like Nebraska fans. Why aren't we running more? Why aren't we running more? That's our bread and butter. And yeah, we're just gonna have to see how it shakes out. This week is a game of the unknown, and that's what makes it so exciting. I've got something I want to share really quick. I'm gonna answer the super chat. I'm gonna get to that. Jim, thank you for the 777. Great recruiting news. Feel good about this game. We'll see Coleman and Nelson. I don't know about Coleman or Nelson playing. I think this year both of those guys are kind of sidelined. I would be surprised if either of them got reps. I would hope they could come in and play, but I just don't know if that is an option. And yeah, we'll just have to see. I'm optimistic though that whether they play or not, those guys are going to develop into weapons in the future for Nebraska. So hopefully, we'll have to see. So the other day, my last live stream, I pulled up this YouTube channel called Nebraska Conversation, right? And I said it was AI because it looked just too good. It was too perfect. And the background's good and everything looked good. So anyway, I ran it through like one of those AI detection softwares, and it told me it thought the background was AI. So from there, in talking to a couple other people, I said this was AI. Then I get a DM from this girl, Viv, who runs this channel. And she's like, hey, Connor, I'm not AI. And she was telling me about it. And I was like, okay, well, I think because I made the mistake in calling her an AI channel, I think you should come on and talk to us on here. So I have her right now. I'm about to call her. Turn on camera. Let's see if she answers. I'm going to call her and we're going to see. And okay, Viv, you got to mute. There you go. Perfect. We're going to see what her thoughts are this week, and we're going to learn a little bit about her channel. So I'm going to go to screen share, and there she is.
There we go.
What's up, Viv?
Hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I don't think my audience can. So give me one sec. I have to link you. Voice chat, headphones. 1 second.
Yeah, take your time. Don't worry.
Test, test, talk.
Hello? Hello, hello?
I think you're good. Talk again, sorry.
Hello?
Yeah, we're good. I think we can all hear you. Okay, so Viv, are you happy with your look there? I didn't make you too small or anything? Okay, good.
No, don't worry. You're fine.
Okay, so the other day I called you AI because your content was so good.
Thank
And
you. Yeah.
your background is so good. So
Yeah.
is it a real background?
Yes, this is here. I can show you.
Guys, this is like really, just so you know, I am not an expert
Oh my.
in I'm not an expert in building setups. Like I have mine, which is okay, but this is like really professional. So Viv, I know you said that you're like a camera expert and you've got another YouTube channel where you talk about camera and audio and all that. So what happened?
Mhm.
What inspired you to start talking about Nebraska?
Well, I've grown up in a family of huge Husker fans. My dad, my grandma and grandpa, my mom's gotten really into it. And I went to my first game when I was like 6, and then just recently I went to the Illinois game. And that was the 400th consecutive sellout, huge deal, and the energy was just so incredible. And I figured I love movies and YouTube and editing, and I love Huskers, so it's like, why not, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so then you started your channel. Let me see. It looks like you started about a month ago. And your first
Yeah.
video was about the Rutgers review on that.
Mhm.
And then you just did one for the Nebraska USC game.
I
So
did.
what's happening when you're doing this research? Are you just going off kind of like how I do? You're a fan watching the games and then you're just doing it? Or are you going and doing intense research? How are you doing your videos?
Yeah, I do some research. I watch the game. I get some help with my dad. He's super knowledgeable about all this stuff. And yeah, I look at a bunch of other people's opinions,
Yeah.
kind of watch the game for my own based on that, write the script, and shoot the video.
That's awesome. Well, Minnie's a big fan of you. Minnie is actually one of my friends. She lives out in Arizona and she started talking on the channel Corn Nation. I'm sure you've seen John at Corn Nation.
Mhm.
So she's
Mhm.
a woman who talks about Nebraska football as well.
Mhm.
So I think it's awesome that we have women who talk about it. And I think
Yeah,
it's
it's
it's more
super
fun
exciting.
when we're all involved and it's not just a
Mhm.
male dominated space, you know? You give a different energy.
Thank you so much. That's super cool to hear from you and her.
So what's the plan with your channel? Because how I evolved my channel was it's because I think the best part about Nebraska football is the community, you know?
Mhm.
So my channel started off the way yours did, where I was making videos, and then it evolved into live streams where I was able to get the audience involved. What's your kind of dream vision for where you take it?
Well, at the moment, I'm gonna finish out the season, and I'm hoping at one point to start doing live streams, get more connected with my audience once it grows some more. And yeah, I'm just kind of going with it, seeing where things take me.
That's awesome. And what's your other channel? What do you talk about on there? I want you to
Oh,
share it with people.
Studio Viv, VYV. I talk about cameras and photography. That's how I got started on YouTube, I think 2 years ago. And that's kind of where my expertise lies.
Well, we can
But
tell because your setup's so good and you came on the scene, and it's like there are a lot of people who start making content, especially in the Nebraska space. And this isn't to
mhm,
discredit anyone or to say that their content's bad because it's not. It's just you have a different level of production, right? Your stuff is very polished. Like you have a really good script, your audio's perfect, the visual, your editing technique, you have a lot of pop-ups. If you guys like my style of content where I do my longer form videos that are 13 or 14 minutes long, she has a very similar style with the pop-ups and all that. So yeah, I think it's impressive that you were able to go and start this channel on such a positive note and not have it be a learning deal for you. You had already learned with your other channel, I think. So,
exactly. Thank you so much. That seriously, coming from you, almost 23,000 subscribers, that like means the world to me.
yeah,
So thank you so
I'm
much.
glad. So, Viv, the reason I wanted to have you here, number one, was because I had to apologize for calling you AI.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
because you guys know I would never have someone, and this isn't, again, this isn't like a disrespect to other people, but I rarely feature other people on my channel because, it's there's a lot of people who want to come on the channel, and
Mhm.
it's just hard to
I
have a bunch of people on. But Viv earned it because she duped me. She got me stumped. I really thought she was fake, and she's obviously proved today she isn't. So
Hello, I'm real.
yeah, congrats for being so good at content that you made me look like an idiot. But anyway, thank you for coming on, and thank you for sharing kind of what's going on over there. And I'll make sure to put your channel below in our description box. So if anyone wants to go look at it and see it, you guys can go see it. But
Thank you so much.
okay, well, I'll talk to you soon, Vivian. I'm gonna send you some of my ideas and some advice for you on
Yeah,
YouTube because I have a lot I've learned doing Nebraska content over the last few years, and I think there are some key takeaways
yes.
I can give you. But
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to
yeah,
be talking to you.
well, again, sorry for calling you AI because obviously,
Don't worry about it. AI has come so far since, I mean, we were laughing at the Will Smith eating spaghetti memes a year ago. So, and
exactly,
now you can't even tell. So,
exactly. Okay, cool. Well, I'll talk to you soon.
we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Okay, guys, I'm glad we got to have her on. When she DM'd me, and she said, again, I'm going to show you the channel one more time. That's the channel. It's called Nebraska Conversation. It's really good content. It's put together so well. But I was like, there's no way, because it was just so perfect. I was like, there's no way there's like a cute girl in Nebraska who's covering Nebraska football. I thought there was no way. But I was wrong. And that's why I had to have her on. I had to apologize because, yeah, yeah, I don't want to be that guy who's out here making people, putting out wrong narratives and holding people back from being successful on here. So if I'm wrong, I'll always admit it. Anyway, um, let me see here. Jonathan, thank you for the $2 super chat. He says, love the community of Husker fans and welcome. I think the beauty about Nebraska fans is like we are also welcoming. We all do have this one like scenario and this, or not like scenario, like interest. And because we're all bought into that same interest, it makes it really easy to make friends and it makes it really easy to want to talk to people. You go on Twitter and there's so much negativity and back and forth. And I have little beefs on Twitter. The number one way you grow on social media is by having beef. And because Nebraska, and if I was doing any other niche of content, I would be beefing like crazy. And I'd be talking shit and I'd be a little disrespectful and I would do all that. But because we're in this Nebraska base where I feel like we all need to get along and we all need to love each other because we're all in this together, we all have this similar interest. I just don't like to beef and I don't like to have problems. But anyway. Okay, so I wanted to show you a couple things before I get to some of the other things I want to talk about with this game. First up, I've got this ticket from 2006. I've shown this to some people before. This is the 2006 ticket, Nebraska versus USC, okay? That's the game I went to. I was 12 years old, I think. 13, something like that. Then I've got this one from 1961. This is USC versus Stanford. So good. The art is just, I mean, okay. Then I have two tickets from the national championship season with Bob Devaney. I believe this was Tom Osborne's second year as OC. I think. I don't know. I was negative 23 years old, so don't quote me. But I have two tickets I want to show you. The first one is Nebraska versus USC 1970. This is the second time these two teams ever played. So it was played at 8 p.m. on September 19th, 1970. I believe it was the second game of the season. It was a top five matchup, I think. I think USC was like number 4. I don't remember. Doesn't matter. I just want to show you the ticket art. So that ticket's special to me because you guys know I've told you 100 times. I don't need to repeat it again, but I have an affinity for USC football, just like I do Nebraska. And I'm going to get this card framed and put up in some way because I just love the art. Like, look at that. The art is so freaking sick. It's a Trojan chasing the corn. Okay. Then I bought this ticket, and this ticket has significant meaning because of the Nebraska National Championship season. So this is USC versus Notre Dame, another USC ticket for a home game. So what happened this year is USC and Nebraska tied in this game. This game ended up in a 21-21 tie, I believe. Then to end the season, USC played Notre Dame, and Notre Dame was undefeated. USC won that game, and them winning allowed Nebraska to win the national championship in 1970. So you have to credit Nebraska, or you have to credit USC for Nebraska's 1970 national championship, because not only did Nebraska not lose to USC, they tied. USC went out and beat the only other unbeaten who was in position to take that title away. So 1970 season between Nebraska and USC was important. And yeah, I just love the history behind it. I think it's super interesting. And although we won't have physical tickets for the game on Saturday, I'll make sure to take plenty of pictures and mark this down. So, I mean, that game was like 50 years ago. Hopefully in 50 years, if I'm still here, I can talk about the memories of the importance of this game. And although this game won't be as important because the stakes aren't as high, I think it's a kind of a turning point opportunity for Matt Rule in Nebraska. And hopefully it's a game we can point to where it's like, man, Matt Rule went out, he hired Dana Holgerson out of nowhere. And it ended up being the turning point at Nebraska where we all bought back in, and then he helped lead Dylan Riley to a Heisman Trophy or something. Who knows? Who knows? I like to remember these things because I don't have my own stories from back in the day yet. I have a few, but not many. And when I hear some of the people in the chat tell me their stories from a long time ago, it's really cool to hear them. So I'm for sure going to want to have my own. So Steven says, how much did those tickets cost you? So I believe this one cost me about $25, maybe 20, yeah, maybe 25. This one cost me $36. I bought this in a pair. There's two USC Notre Dame tickets I got, one from 1962 and this one from 1970. They were 36 each for the pair. This one I won in a bid. It was a bidding war on YouTube or on eBay. And the guy who I was going back and forth with kept going up like $2. And I had it set to 60. I was willing to pay. I mean, I would have paid probably 150 for this ticket, for being honest. It's in perfect condition. There's no creases, no wrinkles. It was I don't even want to say what I'd pay for it. I'd probably pay a couple hundred for it. This ticket will never be recreated, right? There will never be another one. And this is the best condition one I've seen online. There are none other that have no wrinkles or creases or bent edges. So for what I'm going to do with it, which is frame it and keep it as an art piece forever, it was worth hundreds of dollars to me. But I think I paid probably $40 for it, 35, I don't know. Not very much. All in, I'm about $600 into my ticket collection, and I've bought, I'd say 40 tickets or 35 tickets, something like that. So an average price of around $20 to $25 per ticket. That includes the eBay shipping. So I've made a spreadsheet. I've got every ticket I've bought from all the universities. Like I bought an Ole Miss one for like, I don't know, $30, and it was from a 1942 game versus Georgia, I think, or Vanderbilt, whatever. But I have a spreadsheet that says how much I paid for it, and then I'm gonna hold on to them and keep them well protected because I love the history and I love college football. It's my thing, Jonathan, thank you for the $5 super chat. Stakes are just as high. We need our sixth win. I'm passionate about Nebraska and I want a bowl game. Do you think it will happen Saturday or next week? I'm going to be honest with you guys. I think that if Nebraska was playing, because everyone says, Connor, why are you so confident about USC? Why are you so confident that Nebraska can win this game? I'm not kidding you. If Nebraska was playing Wisconsin this week, I would predict a 10-point loss or a 7-point loss. If Nebraska was playing Iowa this week, I would predict a 7-point loss or maybe 4-point loss, but I'd predict losses in both those games. The only team right now who I think Nebraska's fit to play against and possibly win is a team who's equally torn up and battered as they are. Now, USC does get a couple of their starting defenders back. They get their starting corner and their starting safety. But USC transitioning to a new quarterback and coming off a season where they look like 2021 Nebraska. They lose every game at the end. They're always leading in the fourth quarter, but they can never win. USC is a team notorious for finding ways to lose. At least they are this season. So because they are as down bad as Nebraska is, I have a lot more confidence in Nebraska winning than I would against any other opponent. So right now, I haven't seen the Dana Holgorsen situation. I haven't seen the new setup. I don't know how inspired these guys are to finish it out, because I would have thought they'd be inspired against UCLA and Indiana when they came out flat and just broke our hearts. Right now, this is the only chance, in my opinion, to do a bowl game. This is the worst team of the three. It's the best team talent-wise of the three, and it's a tough scenario because it's on the road. But when you talk about team and you talk about what their opportunity is and how far they can go, I just don't think USC has that fight in them left to go out and play the perfect game. I don't believe that they are going to go out and be that version of themselves that we saw against UCLA, whereas a Wisconsin or an Iowa, I think, has a higher ceiling, and they're playing a lot better and more consistent football right now. That's my take. We'll have to see. I really am optimistic, though. It's not like I'm just giving you guys Kool-Aid. I truly have reasons to believe that Nebraska has a chance in this game. So let's see what College Football Network has to say. So it says Nebraska story programs clash. Okay. The new era of the Big Ten continues to bring us conference matchups few of us could have imagined years ago. This Saturday, Nebraska meets USC in LA. They haven't played in over a decade. To start 2024, these two story programs were tabbed as by many as sleepers to contend for a Big Ten title. How crazy is that? We're just a few weeks removed from Nebraska and USC both looking like potential top 25 teams going into this week. Those talks have since died down because they've combined to lose 7 of their last 8 games. How disgusting is that? How disappointing for two blue blood programs to this year, with all the hype they had, to lose 7 of their last 8. Ugh, it just disgusts me. Whatever. Is what it is. For Nebraska, 1 win separates them from bowl eligibility. The road to redemption is just as critical for USC, who needs 2 more victories to keep their postseason hopes alive. Fresh off a bye, Nebraska's making bold changes. On the other side, USC arrives battered, having dropped 4 of its last 5, including a tough loss to Washington. They too come off a bye with a chance to regroup and find the rhythm that once made them a powerhouse. 2 teams, each at a crossroads, each with a season hanging in the balance. For Nebraska, it's about reaching a bowl. For USC, it's about salvaging what remains of a once promising campaign. And I think that's another reason that I'm a lot more optimistic for Nebraska in this spot than I am USC. Yes, USC wants to get to a bowl game. Yes, USC wants to win. They don't want to be embarrassed at home. But who, in theory, should be more motivated? A Nebraska team who's 1 win away, or a USC team who, they've looked checked out the last few weeks. They don't look like they want to be there. They don't look like they're committed to winning. Some players do, but not the entire team. The team dynamics are off. And for that one reason alone, I just don't think they're going to a bowl game this year, even with a win. Beat Nebraska, they've still got to play at UCLA and at home against Notre Dame. Beat Nebraska, and I'm still predicting they miss a bowl game. I still think they'll lose out. So the bowl game situation for USC is a lot further away than it is for Nebraska. Nebraska needs to win 1 of 3 against 3 teams who are all equal in terms of talent to them, whereas USC, I just think they're too far back. Anyway, the weather Saturday is going to be 64 degrees, no wind essentially. The total's 50.5 points. Seems a bit high. With a 50.5 point total, they're expecting a final score at around 30-20 USC. Let's see. The spread in this one floated between 8.5 and 9.5. 9.5 points is a lot. I'm on Nebraska 9.5, and I'm very, very confident and comfortable with that. There's a world where they don't win it. It's not a guarantee, but I feel really good about taking it. It says, according to FPM, which is the model they're using here, USC only has a 53% chance of 53% chance of defeating Nebraska. Let's see. Prediction. This season, Nebraska's offense has struggled to find consistency. That's putting it nicely. Averaging just 354 yards and 23.6 points per game. And that includes UTEP and Northern Iowa, which I think you have to remove those 2 games, and then that point per game drops to about 18, I believe. The heart of its offense is quarterback Dylan Raiola, who's passed for almost 2,000 yards with 10 TDs and 8 interceptions on a 64.7% completion rate. And that actually brings something up that I wanted to know. If he is averaging 1921 divided by how many games has Nebraska played? 9? Yeah, they played 9. He's averaging 213 yards a game. Multiply that by 3 plus his 1921. Dylan Raiola right now is on track to finish with around 2,600 yards for the season, which, in my opinion, is significantly lower than I had predicted. I thought he was going to be a 3,000 to 3,500 yard passer this year, and I think Satterfield's to blame a bit. I think the receivers obviously have had their issues, but 2,600 yards for Dylan Raiola in his true freshman season when he started the entire way, it just feels criminal. I think 3,000 yards was the number I wanted him to hit. Frustrating. He's not going to hit that unless he has three 325-yard games or more. Anyway, Dowdell leads the ground game with 471 yards and 8 touchdowns. This week marks a new chapter. Yep, we know. Defensively, Nebraska has been a steady force, allowing 308 total yards and just 19 points a game. They're particularly strong against the run, giving up only 102 yards a game. The Trojans are expected to start Jaden Maiava. Yes, we know. Maiava brings experience. We know about that. It's challenging to back USC at this point. It's extremely tough to back USC. They don't want to win, ever. Maybe they want to win this week, but not in the past few. Especially as a favorite by more than a touchdown, with SC favored by a large margin. Nebraska's resilience may prove them worthy of the cover. USC 24, Nebraska 20. There you have it. College Football Network thinks USC wins by 4, and I think that's respectable. It makes sense. Why would you not predict a win? I mean, they're huge favorites. 9 points in the Big Ten is a huge range. I mean, 6 points in the Big Ten is huge. The Big Ten is typically hard-fought, close games, right? Serial says, what do you think happens with the rest of the top 20 or the 2025 recruiting class? Sorry. Still think we need to grab at least one offensive tackle. Not sure we have a chance at Terry anymore, but curious what we do in the transfer portal. So I, Serial, actually am more confident in getting Terry than I ever have been. I think if he was really serious about Texas, there wouldn't be the idea that he has a chance to flip. So Terry still being available should give you more confidence than ever that he's going to come. Similar to the Dawson Merritt situation. I do think Nebraska needs to get an offensive tackle, but do they need one as a high school guy or do they need one as a transfer portal? I think Nebraska needs a transfer portal tackle more than they need a high school tackle. They already have Grant Bricks, who's going to get developed. They do need to get tackles, like, don't get me wrong, but I think the importance for next year is getting someone who can play immediately, and that to me is a sign that they got to go to the portal. So I am optimistic that they're going to get a couple more 4-stars in this class and potentially Michael Terry. I think a strong finish to this season could go a long way, but ultimately a lot of it has to do with NIL, a lot of it has to do with belief in Matt Rule and where the program's going, and a lot of it has to do with Dylan Raiola. Nebraska not losing a bunch of guys to the portal is going to help too. Having a guy like Dana Holgerson in his OC, that should help because they're going to be more explosive next year. You know, a lot of it comes down to portal though. Nebraska needs to win now, and if Matt Rule doesn't finish with a 7-win season, then he's going to be looked at as the coach who is a little bit stubborn and not willing to adjust to the modern landscape in college football, where you have coaches like Jeff Brom, Deion Sanders, Kurt Signetti, Lane Kiffin. You know, speaking of, like, I mean, I'm staying on the same topic, but Lane Kiffin did an interview with I think it was Paul Feinbaum the other day. And for those who are familiar with the Lane Kiffin Ole Miss situation, here's what happened. Lane gets to Ole Miss. He recruits whoever his guys are. He gets his quarterback, Jackson Dart, out of the portal. He gets a star receiver from, I think, Louisiana Tech, Trey Harris, number 9. Stud. He's going to be, I think he'll be a first-round draft pick. I don't know. He's been hurt, but whatever. Point is, he went and got some guys from the portal. The problem is Lane is a finesse coach. He's not a build-the-trenches coach. So last year, Ole Miss, good team, 11-win team, beat Penn State in the bowl game, right? I think that was last year. Lane Kiffin doesn't have an offensive or defensive line to get it done. So Lane looks at that final score against Georgia. They lost like 54-10 or 54-7. They got absolutely obliterated in Athens. Lane said, if I want to win and I want to beat the standard, the team who's the standard, which is Georgia, I need a line. I have to get someone out of the portal. I can't rely on high school recruiting to get there. Okay? What does Lane Kiffin do? Lane Kiffin goes over to Washington and gets the starting right, I think it's the right guard and left guard from Washington, a team who was playing in the national championship last year against Michigan, a team who is known for having big bullies on the offensive line. He went and got them. What else did he do? He went over to Texas A&M and got Walter Nolan, top 5, I think, recruit in the country in his class, paid for by Jimbo Fisher. Didn't work out at Texas A&M, so he went over to Ole Miss, and he's one of the best defensive tackles in the SEC. Fast, big, strong. Then he got Prince Lee Umar-Mielen, Prince Will's brother. And he's a beast, all SEC player from Florida. Things weren't working out at Florida because they kind of sucked. Comes to Ole Miss, first round draft pick, stud. So Lane Kiffin said, I'm tired of losing. I'm tired of being good, but not great. I'm tired of being like Kirk Ferentz at Iowa. Kirk Ferentz could learn a thing or two from a guy like Lane Kiffin, huh? Anyway, 10 wins is not enough for coaches like that. And it's not going to be enough for a coach like Matt Rule at Nebraska. So if Matt Rule really wants to win, if he wants to pour gasoline on the fire, he's hitting the portal hard. He's going to adjust, and he's going to say, I cannot continue to go down this path of 5-win, 6-win weak seasons where I can't recruit star players. Because when you have those low win totals and players from around the country see that, they're like, well, why am I buying into you and your vision? You aren't patching up where you need to patch up in the portal. Okay, so now Lane Kiffin has, I think he's got 2 losses, 7 or 8 wins. He's 8-2. He's got the inside track to the college football playoff. Right now, they play Florida on the road next week, which is a game I'm sure they'll be favored by 7+ in. And he finishes the season against, I can't remember who Ole Miss finishes against. It's a win, though. It's a game they'll be favored pretty significantly in. So now Ole Miss is going to the playoff, most likely. What do you think happened to their recruiting? The number 2 receiver in the country, who's from Mississippi, flipped his commitment yesterday from Alabama to Ole Miss. Then today, I don't remember what position it was, a highly ranked 4-star top 100 player did the exact same thing. Flipped his commitment from whatever other school. He's now going to Ole Miss. I say all of this to say, the modern era of college football is changing so quickly, and coaches have to adjust. And if they don't, they become Dabo Sweeney. If they don't, they will never see the level of success that they think their team deserves and that they want their legacy to say they had. So, long-winded response, Serial, I know, but I'm very passionate right now about Nebraska's trajectory, and I think that they have a lot of good going on, but I don't think you can neglect the transfer portal like we thought Matt Rule was going to do. Last year, the expectation was they're going to take 5 or so players from the portal. I believe they took 7, with 3 of those being guys who wouldn't play right away, guys who you could develop down the pipeline. Now, I think he's got to take 10. I think he's got to take 3 guys who he can develop, take 7 maybe who can start immediately. Will he get that many? It's, remains to be seen. It's expensive to be successful out of the portal because those guys have to be paid more than the other school that's paying them and that they're playing at. So, can they get an offensive lineman? Can they get a DB? Can they get a linebacker? Can they get a receiver? I mean, there are a lot of positions and holes they're going to have to fill. I'm confident that Matt Rule's going to go and do his thing, though. So we'll see. It's exciting. Exciting times at Nebraska. We're coming up about 3 weeks from now when we're going to have those conversations about off-season improvement and growth. Brett, thank you for the $10 super chat. Thoughts on Garrett McGuire and the job he's done? If Dana is OC next year, how many guys does Dana get rid of? Yeah, I think Garrett's gone. I'm almost certain Garrett's gone. Unfortunately, I don't think the job he did was good enough. And kind of the way I explained things just now, it's a win now culture at Nebraska. You don't have all day. You don't have 2-3 years. You have to start to show improvement. And Garrett McGuire, unfortunately, didn't show improvement in these first 2 years. If you had to give him a performance ranking, how'd the receivers get developed last season? Well, last year, you could say, well, the injuries and this and that, but in reality, he didn't do much with the receivers he had. This year, same thing. You had Isaiah Nayor. You had Jamal Banks. Why are they both having worse seasons than they had at their previous schools? They have just as good a quarterbacks, if not better, or just as good of a quarterback, if not better. Unfortunately, maybe Garrett McGuire's failures and shortcomings are tied to Satterfield, but that's just the nature of this business. So I believe he'll be gone. If Dana is OC next year, how many guys does he get rid of? I don't know that answer right now. I believe that they're going to keep Donovan. I believe tight ends coach is something you need to get because Satterfield's going to be gone. So you'll have to get at least two new hires, assuming Mosey gets promoted to receivers coach. That's kind of what I think would happen. He'll probably go receivers coach, and then I don't know what'll happen with tight ends. Yeah, it's a kind of wait and see for me. We'll have to see. I really hope Dana stays, and it just feels like Dana's going to stay at this point. Dana's opportunities as a head coach, in my opinion, will be limited. He's coming off of a failed last few years at Houston, and I just think that the options he'll have to be a head coach are at smaller schools, places he won't really want to be. And if he can come to Nebraska for 1 year, be an OC, work with a superstar 5-star QB in Dylan Raiola, and help bring some guys in the portal, he'll make this, bottom 40 offense into a top 40 offense. And with that kind of success, a team will likely go back and say, hey, we want to bring you in, Dana. Come be our head coach. That's my take. We'll see. Jonathan, thank you for the $5 super chat again. You're firing tonight. Always appreciate you supporting the channel. It goes a long way. He says, I wish we could see Sims or Armstrong numbers. I bet they're similar. I mentioned Armstrong because he was a great QB, but also could not get it done. Well, we could see him. If you wanted to see him, I could pull him up. But here's the thing. Sims numbers were, you're talking about Jeff Sims, right? I don't know what numbers you'd want to look at, but I don't think he ever matched Armstrong in terms of passing. I think he had a lot more turnovers and a lot more. I'm going to tell you right now, just to verify this claim that I'm making. Jeff Sims stats. I think Tommy Armstrong was throwing for 3,000 yards. Jeff Sims, yeah, it's not even close. Okay. This is Jeff Sims. In 2020, he threw for less than 2,000 yards. In 2021, he threw for 1,400 yards. In 2022, he threw for 1,100 yards. So these numbers are not impressive by any means, and the interception to TD ratio isn't either. It's almost even. I mean, yeah, it's garbage. If you go to Tommy Armstrong, this guy was a lot more explosive. 2,100 yards, 3,000 yards, 2,700 yards. His interceptions were still high, but not as bad as Jeff Sims. So I guess you could say similar, but way more effective of a passer. Tommy was. So, yeah, I don't know. I would much rather have Tommy Armstrong than Jeff Sims. Serial says, I hope you're right. Terry would be a huge addition. I still think they're going to get Terry. Grabbing a transfer offensive tackle would be better, so they could start right away. Grabbing 7 or 8 wins would be massive for recruiting momentum. Yeah, if they could finish off the season on a high note and go 2-1, I would be pumped. It just feels like a reach, but it would be freaking awesome if they could do it. Because the momentum you'd have going into a bowl game, and Nebraska's going to win their bowl game. Put this out there right now. If Nebraska goes to a bowl game, they're winning that thing. I'll tell you why. Most players sit out when they go to their bowl game because they got to go to the NFL, like the good players, sorry. They got to go to the NFL or they don't want to get injured or whatever their reason is. The bowl games are kind of meaningless in their opinion. At Nebraska, this bowl game would mean everything because none of these seniors have gotten to go to one yet. So the guys who would normally sit out, like a Ty Robinson, let's say, he can't sit out. He wants to play in that bowl game. I mean, he could. I don't know. I haven't talked to Ty. But I don't think he would. I think it means a lot to these guys to be able to go and play for that because they've never gotten to before. So I think Nebraska goes in fully healthy. They go in pumped up and excited. And I think they would win it because they'd have the talent advantage over most schools who their star players may be sitting out. So yeah, if Nebraska can win 2 of these next 3 games and then go to a bowl game and win that, the excitement going into next season will just be through the freaking roof. It's like we reached the expectations. It was just a rocky road to get there. You know? Chris says, how are you feeling about Tony White? Still think he lands a head coaching job next year? I still think he does. I mean, you never know what's going to happen. A lot of it has to do with what availability there is. I don't know what's going to be available. And he's got to choose to leave, right? He's got to choose a school out of the offers he gets. So I lean on the side of he'll probably be gone, you know? Joey says, how does your opinion on the game change if Heinrich is the starting QB? It's a great question, man. You know, I think Nebraska matches up really well with USC in the run game. USC gives up a lot of yards per carry. Nebraska has struggled to run for a lot. So I think you don't have that dominant defensive front that we're normally seeing from Big Ten teams. And if Heinrich Harburg was back there running a power option offense, I think you'd see a lot of success, similar to what you saw last year when he was the starting quarterback and fully healthy against Illinois, Northwestern, and Purdue. So I do like their chances in a worst case scenario if Dylan was to go out, and I like them even more now that Harburg is preparing to start this week if he needed to take over essentially, because Dylan's going to start this week. But if something happened to Dylan, I'm confident that there would be a game plan and they'd be ready to play Harburg. And I wouldn't flinch. I would still think Nebraska has a good chance to win that game. Obviously, their chances would go down since Dana Holgerson wouldn't have the playbook open to him as much as he did with Raiola, since Harburg can't make the throws that Raiola can. I mean, there are just some in there that are made for elite QBs, and Harburg's a running threat, not a passing threat. So I'm still optimistic if he has to play, but I'm much more excited about seeing Dylan. 100%. Josh says, was Lane a possibility before we got Rule? He's saying there were rumors about Lane Kiffin back then. I don't think it ever was. I think Lane Kiffin really likes Ole Miss. I went to Oxford. I told you guys this 100 times, but I went to Oxford last week. It is a special place. It's an awesome town, and it just seems like a Lane Kiffin environment. I went to a restaurant the night before the game, or 2 nights before the game, and Lane was in the restaurant speaking. He's so cool. I love Lane Kiffin. He's one of my favorite coaches. Obviously, he has a huge personality. He's kind of a troll. He's funny. I just think he's built for the SEC. And I think with what he was building at Ole Miss, it would never be an option for him to come to Nebraska. He had Jackson Dart. He had a lot of these transfer guys, and they were building in the right direction. They were a 9-10 win team when he got there. So, yeah, I don't think he was ever a legitimate option. Jim, thank you for the 555. He says, I repeat my early season prediction that Tony White stays one more year. His resume needs a winning record to complement his defensive expertise. I think that could possibly be true, but at the same time, these schools are so desperate in looking for head coaches. You don't have that many options. They run through them, right? So they run through it, test a guy, he doesn't work out, spit him right back out. We got to get the next coordinator in line and try him. So there's a chance. I just don't know. You're a little bit more optimistic than I am. I'm hopeful, but I'm a pessimistic. I'm a pessimist when it comes to this exact circumstance, just because I think that there are too many schools who are going to want him and be interested. And I think his desire, he's in his early 40s, his desire to go and take over a program, I'm sure that's strong. And he's going to want to go do it. He seems like the guy who is fit to lead a team and not just meant for a coordinator role. He's not like Chip Kelly, who said, I'm done with UCLA. I'm going over to call plays at Ohio State. This is a guy who I think wants to be a leader in that fashion. And yeah, I mean, when your name's hot, you got to fire. And right now, the way Nebraska's defense is played, at least statistically ranking, right now his name has never been hotter. And it's hard to run the risk of continuing to stay at Nebraska and betting that you'll continue to have that that prowess and that option to leave when you want to. Husker for Life says, if we pick a bunch of skill players out of the portal, I'm going to come unglued. The only portal addition I want to see is O linemen. I know they are hard to get, but stick all your money and resource. They're going to get an offensive lineman. I just wonder what caliber he's going to be. Jonathan, thank you for the $5 super chat again. You're firing tonight. Thank you for that. Love your channel, and I'm hoping for a win. Why do you think we haven't been using the tight end as much? I don't know what's been going on. I've heard that Dylan favors certain receivers. I've heard that he has his guys he wants to throw to. And I've also seen that he'll see guys running right in front of his face who are wide open, but he won't throw the ball. He waits. And I'm like, why didn't he take that first option? Is he getting too greedy? Or is he being coached by Sat to go after the bigger play? I don't know the answer. I wish I did. I think we're going to see more short throw, more Thomas Fidone incorporated. I'm confident that Dana Holgerson's going to see what we've all seen on game film and tape. And he'll say, hey, we got to get that ball out faster. And the tight end's your first option. He's open plenty of times. And even in one-on-one matchups, Fidone's a good receiver. He can go up and battle for the ball. We've seen him do it already this year. He did it against Ohio State. I think it was Ohio State. He had like 5 catches right out the gate. So, yeah, I think we're going to see a change. Ben says, is Holgerson going to add any creativity to the run game? Satterfield seemingly never called an outside run. Yeah, I think we're going to see more creativity. I don't know how much, but there will be a little bit more. I think we have a smarter play caller who, he looks at the game a little bit differently than Sat did. Bon Sin, thank you for the $2 super chat. He says, Harburg power option offense would feed families. So the thing is, we saw the Harburg power option offense last year, and it had its pros against weaker teams. When you're playing against tougher teams, it's really hard to be successful. I wouldn't hate to see it, but you don't pay Dylan Raiola the money you paid him to sit him on the bench. So I do still believe that Harburg's future at Nebraska is at tight end or a different position. And this is the last year he'll be a backup quarterback. He belongs on the field because he's a stud. Minnie, thank you for being a member. Thank you for the $10 super chat. She says, happy 18th birthday at Nebraska, man. Hope the Huskers get a W for your B-Day weekend. Well, thank you, Minnie, for the super chat. And happy birthday, Nebraska, man. I haven't seen, is he in the chat? Oh, I found him. Nebraska man says, thank you, Minnie. I see it. And he says, hello, Connor. Today is my 18th birthday. Well, thank you for celebrating it with us. Hopefully this weekend we can get a win for you to really cap things off. I know that'd make you feel better. Man, imagine Nebraska winning on your birthday weekend. I never get to appreciate that since my birthday's in March, so football season's a long way away from there. Let's see. Chang, thank you for the $30. I think that's Taiwanese, right? I'm so glad Rule tries anything to get one more W. He's committed, He's a coach who's not settling. And I think that's what we're all most excited about. He's a coach who had preseason expectations, and he said, you know what? We're not stopping till we hit those expectations. I don't want to eat my words at the end of the season, and I don't want to sit there like, man, I could have done something different, but I was too stubborn to. So shout out to Matt Rule doing exactly what you and I would have done, Chang. We would have fired somebody's ass and we would have moved forward and tried to figure out a way to win. Because when you have this much talent and this much opportunity in front of you, you've got to seize that moment. And it feels like Matt Rule is. I'm excited about it. Okay. This week, USC unveiled new uniforms. I mean, they're old uniforms. They're 1970s, but they're wearing them for the first time. Haven't seen these being worn at USC ever. I mean, I don't think in my lifetime they've worn these. Well, in the 90s, obviously, but not since like 2002 when they switched over to the single yellow stripe on the shoulder. But these look freaking awesome. They look very cool. And if I was a USC fan, I would be at the bookstore buying this ticket or buying this jersey to wear to the game on Saturday. It looks so sick. It's just, I love the throwback stuff, I like seeing variety. The USC uniform is so classic. The gray face mask. Yeah, very cool. Anyway, so USC unveils that. Then I was looking at tickets. So everyone talks about ticket prices for the game, right? These ticket prices have crashed. So everything you see here is with fees. Sorry. So here's an example. You can sit right here in the first row of the stadium, right? Yeah, row 1 for $294 each, including fees. I mean, this is a ticket that normally would cost like $800 if the teams were good, I'm sitting right 122A. I'm sitting right here in like the 19th row. So I'm on like the 45-yard line. My dad bought our tickets for $400 each from his buddy. We have 6 of them right here with my whole family. And you can get tickets in that same area for nothing, for $160 a piece, which is very cheap, as you guys know, $242 for these. But they're going to be even cheaper on game day. You wait till game day and these ticket prices are going to come crashing down. And what you do, this is the Coliseum side of the stadium, like where the torches are. You stand right out here. It's right, so you guys can see on the screen. You stand right out here, and there are going to be a billion scalpers selling tickets. So if you want to buy tickets on game day and you want to sit in really good seats, this is going to be a very cheap game to go to. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there were only 50,000 people there on Saturday. It's sad to say. Just disappointing for such a big-time matchup. I mean, between two blue blood schools, but is what it is. Cheap tickets. Jonathan, thank you for the $2 super chat. He says, we get the 6th win on his birthday. We need a shirt. You need what kind of shirt? What's that mean? You need a shirt. Serial says, my B-Day weekend got us that Colorado win. Literally my best present ever. Yeah, that's a good way to celebrate. To win Colorado. I mean, that was a big weekend. That was one of the best games I've ever been to in my life. I've been to a lot of fantastic games, but that Colorado game is up there just because of, the emotion behind it and how excited we all were to have that redemption moment. Dave, thanks for being a member. Thank you for your $10 super chat. He says, we're driving to LA from Phoenix now. Man, I'll tell you what, I will never do that drive again. I mean, I'm going to have to if I move to Phoenix next year. But I hate that drive. So props to you for doing it. It's like 5.5 hours and it's just desert. He says, can't listen now, but we'll catch the replay in the morning. Are you stopping by the Husker Huddle tailgate in Exposition Park? I don't know what the Husker Huddle tailgate is. I didn't have a plan to. I'm going to be walking around the stadium in the morning. So my game plan is my game day plan. Let's see. I'm going to wake up around 9. I'm going to get down to the stadium around 9:30, 9:45, let's say. Now, I probably got to wake up at 8:30. But okay, I'm going to get down to the stadium around 9:30, 9:45. I'm going to get with my mom so I can give her parking pass, show her where to go. Don't want to get lost. Then my dad and his wife come with my sister and my sister's boyfriend. So we'll all be down there by like 10, 10:30. I'm going to do a walk around to the stadium, feel out the vibes, see what's going on. So I'll check out the scene. And then I think probably 11:30, I'll go into the stadium. There's like a thing inside the stadium, like part of our tickets where you can eat, and there's like a little sweet deal. So I'm going to do that at around 11:30. And then that's the game plan. After the game, I'm going to go home and it'll probably take me an hour is my guess. And I'm going to do my live stream and I have dinner with my family that night. So that's my game day plan. I told people that if you want to, because a lot of people have asked if we are doing a meetup or anything like that. I'm not doing a meetup. I just don't think there'd be enough people. We can't coordinate it. It's difficult on a game day like that on the road. But if you're there and you want to meet me, get a picture, whatever, I already told a few people who've messaged me, just DM me on game day and I'll let you know where I'm at. And then we can take a picture or meet or whatever you guys want to do. So that's the game plan. I'm excited. USC is such an iconic stadium, obviously, the Coliseum. The fan base, although they won't be out in full force, the ones who are there are just as passionate about USC football as we are as Nebraska fans. So they're people who care and they're very cool. They're nice. Like, it's just a good group of people to be around. They're passionate, It's a blue blood football program. The fight song, the pageantry at SC, the cheerleaders, like the traveler, the horse that runs around the field after a touchdown, like just everything that goes on with USC football. For me, it's nostalgic, but it's the epitome of what makes college football great. And I'm just so excited to see two of these historic programs being able to match up. We don't get this very often. Dude, the last time we saw Nebraska play at USC was 2006. That's 18 years ago. God, I feel old. That's crazy. But anyway, I appreciate it. So, exciting day coming up. Doug, thanks for being a member. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Feel like Raiola needs to humble himself. I think he is trying too much to be the star. So here's the thing, Doug. I don't think Raiola is trying to be the star. I think he's being pushed into a position where he's asked or forced to be the star. When other people around him can't get the win, he feels like he has to go and do it. In my post-game reaction against UCLA, when Raiola stupidly tucked the ball and ran, trying to get the touchdown, and ran full speed into two linebackers. Didn't slide, just ran full speed and tucked his shoulder. I was concerned because I thought, man, I think Nebraska is pushing too much onto him. They're telling him it's all on you, or at least he feels that way. So hopefully Holgerson kind of reels that back and says, look, you don't need to be a do-it-all. You need to be a distributor like you were brought in to be, and you need to find your receivers and don't feel like you need to make a big play every time. Don't feel like you got to push the ball 30 yards downfield. Don't wait to find the third option who gets open on a deep post for a 35, 40-yard gain. Check it down. Let these guys make plays. We just need 3 or 4 yards here and there, and we're going to make sustained drives downfield. So I don't know if it's Raiola. I think it's more so the situation he's in. That's my response there. The Big Meatball, thank you for the $5 super chat. Any chance we might see Gabe Ervin some more of these 3 games? There's zero evidence to suggest that he would come in at all. Like, Gabe Ervin, no disrespect to him, has fallen down the depth chart and been a total non-factor this year. Would I have a problem seeing him come in? No. Do I think he could get the job done? Absolutely. But for whatever reason, he's fallen down the totem pole, and these other two backs have kind of overtaken him, Dowdell and Emmett Johnson. So I'm going to say there's no way that we see more of him. It just wouldn't make sense unless an injury happened and Dowdell went out and they needed to have a replacement for Dowdell. That's where Gabe Ervin could capitalize. The Zero says Hong Kong, Tijuana to celebrate the win. I know you've been there, Connor. I haven't been to Hong Kong. Never, ever. My friends love Hong Kong. They tell me some crazy stories. If you know, you know. I don't really want to get into it. But I've heard it's like top tier. Not my deal, but I've heard if you're into that, that's like the place to go. Brett, thank you for the $5 super chat. Connor, do you ever hang out with Will Ferrell at USC games? I love Will Ferrell. I don't hang out with Will Ferrell at USC games. My friend goes to the gym with him down the street, like 10 minutes away from me at Equinox. But yeah, I don't know Will Ferrell. I've seen him at USC games on the sideline, but I've only been on the field at USC probably like 3 or 4 times, maybe 5 times, because I went a couple years ago. So yeah, I have no association with Will Ferrell, but he's awesome, and if I met him, he'd be a great guy to get a picture with. Josh says, why is every offensive coach on the hot seat except for Coach Raiola? You know, conspiracy theorists may say that it's tied to a certain player on the team. I lean, he's done enough, and he just hasn't had enough ability and talent in that room. So he's done enough to show that he's making progress. But yeah, I think he needs to get more guys in. This Grant Bricks deal is a great determining factor, right? If Grant Bricks, who was the top offensive lineman in Iowa, doesn't pan out, then you can point and say, well, that was a bad hire. That was a bad guy to keep on staff. But if he's able to go and develop some of these younger guys who they're recruiting, it's hard. It's tough because offensive linemen are a long-term development deal. You don't see a lot of them play until their junior season, or at least you hope they don't play until their junior season when they're fully beefed up and ready to play. You know, they're playing in the Big Ten against monsters. So I don't know. Like I said, it's a conspiracy theorist thing to say that he's only there because of Raiola, because of Dylan Raiola. Megan says we played USC in one of our bowl games, either 2014 or 2015. I know because I was there. Yeah, it was the 2014 Holiday Bowl, Megan. It was a great game. I was there for that one. When I said that we haven't played USC since 2006, I meant a home and home series because that's when you get the real pageantry. That 2014 Holiday Bowl was really fun. It was Amir Abdullah, Tommy Armstrong. Who was playing receiver in that game? Was Quincy Enunwa on that team? Kenny Bell? I don't remember. 2014. But it was a great game. Nebraska, I believe, was down like 3 touchdowns or 2 touchdowns at one point. They stormed back. Amir was injured that day. I think he was injured in a few games before that, and he was kind of fighting through some things. And they lost 45-42. It was painful. I was there with all USC people because my friends are obviously from Orange County, where I lived at the time. And I was the one person wearing Nebraska stuff. I made my girlfriend at the time wear a Nebraska jersey, actually. I was going through my old pictures the other day, and I saw her wearing this Nebraska jersey, a Taylor Martinez, and I was like, oh, those were good times. But all my friends were wearing their USC stuff, and I wanted the win so bad. And today, you know, all my USC friends are texting me this week. Not as much shit talk, because they know their team sucks too. But still talking about how Nebraska has no shot and how this 10-point line basically says that Matt Rule's not a good coach and USC superior, all their nonsense. Anyway, I really need a Nebraska win. It means a lot for me. It means a lot if Nebraska would just win this week. Bonds, thank you for the $2 super chat. He says, if we make a bowl game, I'm buying tickets if it's close. Yeah, I thought about it. I was like, would I go to the bowl game? I think the only issue for me is the bowl game would probably be between December 26th and December 31st. It's hard for me to get away from family at that time. You know, I've got Christmas at my mom's house in Orange County on like the 24th and 25th. Then on the 26th, I got to fly out to my dad's in Oklahoma. And that'll be like my uncle will be there and my sister. And yeah, we'll have a bunch of us. I'm going to go see my grandpa when I'm there. So Christmas is hard, so I don't know if I'll go to the bowl game. If Nebraska was playing in a playoff game, if they were going into a Rose Bowl or Orange Bowl scenario, I would absolutely be at those. But going to a Christmas time bowl game, I'd rather just watch it on TV. You know, I live in a place where I don't need to escape. A lot of people say, well, the good thing about them playing in Florida or Arizona or whatever, it's almost like you get to get out of the cold. Here, it's good weather for me, so I never have to leave. I live in a vacation spot, although, you know, yeah, I get it. I get why a lot of people would want to go, and I hope you do get to go. It's an experience to go. I've been to a ton of bowl games. I've been to the Holiday Bowls. I've been to Fiesta Bowls. I've been to Rose Bowls. I haven't been to like a Capital One Orange Bowl, or sorry, a Capital One Bowl, or like a Outback Bowl. I'm trying to think, what was the one that US or that Nebraska played in against UCLA up in NorCal? Foster Farms. I haven't been to like a Foster Farms Bowl, but yeah, I think it's good to go. I think it's a good experience. College football is just, it's the best sport. Bonds, thank you for the $2 super chat once again. Appreciate you a ton for supporting tonight. He says, you think Rule would have used Adrian Martinez better? That's a good question. I don't know if he would have used him better. Uh, yeah, I can't make a pick on that. I think a lot of Adrian Martinez issues were injuries and lack of confidence. I don't know, and yeah, I don't know that it was scheme. I know that Scott Frost didn't have the best play calls at time, and he was running with certain offensive coordinators who might not have had the best influence, but Adrian's injuries really held him back, and his turnover issues. He fumbled the ball, he throw picks, and I'm not sure how much of that you blame on player execution versus coaches, you know? Hugh says, I haven't been to a bowl game, um, or I haven't been to a bowl. I haven't been to a bowl. Have lived. I'm sorry, Hugh, I'm confused. He hasn't been to a bowl since the 2002 Independence Bowl versus Eli Manning. I remember that game. So I was 9 years old. I was in, where was I? I must have been in Chadron in Nebraska at my grandparents' house for Christmas watching that game on TV. And I don't remember it much, but I do remember, I think Ole Miss was wearing dark blue jerseys. I was 9, dude. I don't know. But I think Nebraska lost that one. I don't remember. Who knows? Frank says, "Hope they play in Tampa, where I reside." Yeah, if you can go to a bowl game where the team is already at, or you can go to a bowl game where you live in that same city of that stadium, and the team's already going to be out there, that makes it super easy. Traveling to it's hard. Project X says, Connor, thoughts about Cam L and Prince W if Merritt comes? Uh, I don't know. I don't know if that changes anything. I mean, Cam Lenhart's going to be a junior next year. Prince will is going to be a junior. So if Merritt comes, he's going to be a true freshman. It just adds more, but the starting guys will still be Cam and Prince. Dawson Merritt's a guy who can rotate, just like we saw Cam last year come into the mix. But Nebraska's going to develop guys and get bodies in who are more experienced, and they're going to lead the way. So my thoughts and opinions on the other guys doesn't change. It's all about development and getting that pipeline rolling. So this would just be another addition to what they've already built on with Prince Will and Cam Lenhart. Really quick, I got to shout out today's sponsor. So we're in the last 2 weeks of my partnership with Prize Picks. So Prize Picks has been an amazing sponsor all season. They've helped me to put out, man, this year I've been putting out, I think 4 videos a week on average, sometimes 5 actually, because I'll do 2 live streams. No, I'll do 3 live streams and I'll do 2 regular pieces of content. So 4 to 5 a week. And they're my only sponsor this year. I actually said that I would only work with them and no one else because I thought the opportunity would be really good. And it's something that I, can have fun with and play. And I was already going to use something like this to play sports. So with that said, a lot of you have already signed up. We have over 400 Corn Crazed subscribers who've tried out our link, our Corn Crazed code, and they've made plays. In the Discord, you have seen a ton of winners, and it's just a fun way to get in on the action. So if you haven't signed up yet, you can download the Prize Picks app. And when you sign up and download using our code CORN, first off, it helps support the channel, number one. But number two, you're going to get $50 after you make your first $5 play. And there's no risk to that. You don't have to win your $5 play. You don't have to do anything else except for play it. Make one lineup for $5. You get $50 right there just for using our code CORN. So again, we're in the last 2 weeks with this sponsorship. They've been great to us. And I'm appreciative that all of you have tried out the app and supported the channel. And I know you guys are having fun playing it because people send me their picks all the time and there are a bunch of winners. So right now, I wanted to show you guys one free play this week. Where is it? Boxing. Dang, I can't find it. College basketball. Oh, there it is. Boxing. So check this out. If you sign up for Prize Picks and use our code and get your $50, okay, you can take this. It's Mike Tyson to land one punch. They're projecting he lands 42 and a half, by the way. If Mike Tyson lands one punch tomorrow night on Jake Paul, you win. It's a free win. So make sure you go and play this. If you already have Prize Picks downloaded or if you plan to download it, make sure you use this. I am going to use it tomorrow with a Nebraska lineup. Right now, the lines for Nebraska and USC are not up. If I search Nebraska, yeah, they're not up. They'll be up by tomorrow morning. And we're going to see Dylan Raiola and Dowdell, the receivers. We'll see what their numbers are. Once they're up, I'll post them on Instagram. And I'll also show you my plays in Discord so you guys can follow those. But I wanted to show you guys one play I'm going to make tonight. I'm taking, wow, this moved up a lot. I was going to take Luka right here at 48. It's moved to 52 and a half. I'm still taking it. We're taking Luka tonight. And we're also taking Colin Sexton, 3-pointers, I think. Where is he? Field goal attempts. Let's do 3 points made. Colin Sexton to make 1 3-pointer. So we'll put $15 on this, and that would pay us 30. So that's my first play, my first lineup of the week. We're doing more on both, more than 52 and a half and more than 1. So that's my first one. Then we'll do one more here just to show you guys what I like. We'll do a Colorado. I don't know about a Colorado one. They're playing Utah, and I kind of like Utah to cover. I think what I'll do, Washington. Ooh, Ethan Garber's rush yards against Washington is 16 and a half. Jonah Coleman rush yards. I'm going to take Jonah Coleman. Jonah Coleman had a bad week last week against Penn State, but I'm sure he was hurt. So we're going to take Jonah Coleman at 50 rush yards against UCLA. We're also going to take Micah Bernard. We're going Green Goblins. These are safer plays. That's why you see the green. They're lower numbers. Take Micah Bernard at 59 and a half. And then we'll take... Oh, they've got USC up now. They're starting to trickle in. These will be up tonight, possibly. You can get Jaquavius Marks, which is Woody Marks, at 90 rush yards against Nebraska. Seems high. I'm going to stay off that one right now. Look at that later. Dylan Sampson. Maybe Devin Neal. I'll take Devin Neal against BYU. Devin Neal's the running back for Kansas, and I like Kansas against BYU this week. So this payout is 2.75. If I want to do a flex play, which means I only have to win 2, I could lose 1, then I'll still get paid. I could do 15 to win 30. I'll do a flex play on it, 15 to win 30, and hope I can hit 3, but worst case I hit 2. For that, I'll do 20. $20 pays 40. Perfect. So there's a couple lineups. And then if we go to USC, is there anything else on USC? Oh, yeah. The USC lines are out. Let's see what we've got here. You can get Jaden Mayava, 265 passing yards. That's his expectation. They think he's going to throw at least 2 touchdowns. They think he's going to run for a touchdown. They think he's going to throw an interception. They think Woody Mark's going to have 27 receiving yards. Kyron Hudson at 32.5 receiving yards. Let's see. Makai Lemon is at 50. I like Makai Lemon at 50 yards. The last 3 weeks, the last 4 weeks, he's gone over that. And although Nebraska, I think, is going to play good defense, Makai is going to be one of their top targets. So I'll be taking him. And again, I don't think Nebraska's up yet. Let's just double check. Yeah, Nebraska's not up. So we'll wait for Nebraska to make any more plays. But that just gives you guys an idea of what I'm liking so far. And I'll post the rest of our plays in Discord. My plays will be in there, and all the other Corn Crate subscribers who play will have it up too. Alan, thank you for being a member. Thank you for the 24-21. I'm guessing that's your score prediction with Nebraska winning. He says, I agree. I think we'll see less screen and more short passes with more misdirection. Have a great time at the game. Thank you. I will have a great time at the game. I can promise you that. Win or lose, I will have fun. He says, less screens and more short passes. I do agree with both those things. The misdirection, I don't know. The misdirection has worked. They've been doing that a lot with Ja'Cory Barney. Does Dana Holgorsen believe in that? Does Dana Holgorsen want to incorporate? I've seen that they said that he might incorporate tight end run game. I don't know. Are there wrinkles that we haven't seen out of this offense yet that he brings to the table? Either way, I'm confident and I'm optimistic that Dylan's just not going to hold on to the ball as long. And I think that's the biggest thing. You don't want to see him hold on to it all day. You want to see him get it out and actually have completions. Zero says, are we the best defense they have faced? Well, from a statistics standpoint, we can look right now. Total defense rankings. Total defense. USC has played Penn State, and they scored 30 points against them. Penn State is the number four defense nationally. Outside of that, from a statistics standpoint, Nebraska ranks 16th, so Nebraska would be the second best, but I would argue Washington has a better defense than Nebraska, at least more consistent. Washington ranks 20th nationally. So they've played Washington. They played Wisconsin, who's 30th nationally. Who else have they played? They played Michigan, who's 39th. So those are the top ones. They played a lot of good defenses. For the defensives they've played, they have scored a good amount of points. ESPN. Let's see, USC. Scrolling, looking for that Nebraska USC game, and bang, we found it. USC has now moved to a 7.5-point favorite. Oh boy, the Sharps are coming in. Look at that. The line has dropped from 9.5 when I started this stream all the way down to 7.5. Wow. When I get off the stream, I might have to take a little bit more on Nebraska. I've got a couple hundred on them, but I might have to get up to like 4 or 5. We need to get some action. I'm very confident in this one. Okay, USC getting back on track. Okay. They scored 21 points on Washington. Should have scored 35. They got shut down at the goal line twice. They scored 30 on Penn State. They scored 38 on Wisconsin. They scored 24 on Michigan. So they have had some productive days against strong defenses. But yeah, Nebraska is especially talented and especially good compared to the other teams they've played. So I think Nebraska's up there in the top group of defenses they've faced. Sam says, I would say Penn State's the best defense, and that's absolutely, without a doubt, true. Why does USC and Oregon not seem to play very often? They used to be in the Pac-12 North and Pac-12 South, so they'd have to alternate, and they wouldn't play every year. And then now that they're in the Big Ten, because the conference is so big, they don't play every year. So it's because the Pac-12 North and Pac-12 South, those two things were different. Husker D says we were also pretty confident about Indiana. That was a totally different scenario. Indiana hadn't proven anything up to that point, and we've seen an entire body of work now for USC and Nebraska. There's a lot more proof as to who these two teams are, so that changes things. I think the Indiana game, obviously, we had a false confidence about ourselves, and we had a false disbelief in Indiana since they hadn't proven anything yet. By the way, I've had these headphones in this entire stream. I didn't realize it. And I've been talking really loud because of it, because usually I talk to a level that I can hear myself. So if I was too loud this stream, I apologize. I might have been yelling because I was a little bit dulled with the headphones in. My bad, guys. Anyway, it's been an hour and some change. It's been a long stream. It's already 5:40. It's been an hour and 20 minutes. I had a great time talking with you guys tonight. And I'm excited to talking about the recap, and I'm excited to see what happens going forward. This is just an interesting time to be a Nebraska fan, and we're coming down the home stretch. 2 weeks left of the season, and then we'll go from there. Again, I appreciate all of you for commenting. You guys in the chat help drive this show. Without you, I would be sitting here looking at a screen, just talking to myself. So I want you to know how much I appreciate when you guys are all active. It makes it so I can make good content. If it would have been me solo tonight, this would have been a 30-minute stream, and then it would have been done. Um, and that wouldn't be fun. You know what I mean? So thank you all for being active. One more thing I want to do before we get out of here is give you a quick run through on my picks for the week, and then I'll let you go. So I already have one. I have two winners this week, actually. I took Ball State plus 5.5. They won for me. I took Ohio -8. They covered last night. I don't know what to do about Washington UCLA tomorrow night. I took Iowa against UCLA last week and regretted it. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take UCLA and I'm going to take Houston, both road teams tomorrow, both getting points. And I'm going to hope for the best. UCLA and Houston to cover. Texas versus Arkansas. Man, I went to that Arkansas game and Arkansas looked like absolute dog. So the line is at 12, and I would usually want to take them here, but I think I'm just going to stay away. Their inconsistency really stresses me out, and Texas is one of the best teams in the country, despite that being a rivalry game. Utah plays Colorado. I got this at 11.5 points, so I am taking Utah. I think Utah fought hard against BYU last week, and the unfortunate ending for them that didn't go their way, I think will inspire them to play up to their level of competition on the road at Colorado this week. And Colorado winning by 11. It's a lot to do in the Big 12 when all these teams are fairly similar in terms of talent. Let's see what else I like on here. I'm so excited for the slate this week. The only downside about going to a game is I don't get to sit on my couch all day and be on my phone and laptop watching 3 or 4 games at the same time. That's the only downside to going to a game. Michigan State plays Illinois. Illinois is favored by 2.5 points. I'm going to take the dog on the road. I'm taking Michigan State. I like Michigan State. I have a bet that has them winning 5 games this season. I need them to win 1 more. So although I already have a play on these guys, I'm doubling down. We're taking Michigan State plus the points. Syracuse is at Cal -9.5. Wow. I'm going to stay away. Cal's actually a really good team this year. I'm really happy for Cal. The woke mob has been dominant, but I'm not playing that. Too many points. Let's see. LSU, Florida. This is an intriguing one. Don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I think I'm going Florida +4 at home against LSU. A rivalry spot. Florida's not very good. Desperate for a win to hope for a bowl game. Taking the points. USC, Nebraska. Already covered this. I got this at 10, actually. I want to get more action at 9.5, but it looks like I'm going to have to settle for 7.5. This line has come down a lot. That tells me that this is a good spot to bet. Love Nebraska more than I even did before the stream started. Let me get some water. My voice is going out. Okay. Baylor, West Virginia. Playing for a bowl game here. It's a little bit of a rivalry game, too. These are always close. I don't have a play on this yet. I'll let you guys know this weekend in the Discord when I put up my official lines. I lean the home team, but this is a tough one to call. Mizzou plays South Carolina. South Carolina is a 14-point favorite. That's insane to me. Give me South Carolina. Mizzou sucks. Last week they got lucky in beating Oklahoma, who's not very good. Maryland is -5 at home against Rutgers. Rutgers coming off a win, I think. I'm taking Maryland -5. Arizona State's at Kansas State. This one's a tough one. I lean Arizona State plus the 7.5. They get Scatterbo back, the running back we all love. That short white dude who's just a beast. Lean Arizona State, but that spread sketchy. I think this is an Arizona State must play. No one in the Big 12 is that much better than their next opponent. So any spread that's that big, I'm gonna roll the dice. Oregon's at Wisconsin, 14-point favorite. Wow, Wisconsin potentially loses at home at night by 2 TDs before coming to Nebraska next week. Crazy. I'm going to stay away, but interesting. Tennessee is at Georgia. It's a night game. Georgia, desperation mode, have to win to get to the playoff if they want a chance. Tennessee, obviously, top 10 team. Nico Iamaleava got hurt last week. 9.5 points is a lot. I'm taking Tennessee. Kansas, BYU will be my last play. BYU is -2.5 at home. That line started at BYU -3. It's moving in Kansas' favor. I'm taking Kansas. Taking Kansas, fading BYU once again. Won last week. Hopefully we win again this week. So those are my plays for the weekend. My official lines will be in the Discord group under the subset football betting. And if you want my prize picks, the official ones, I'll have those on the prize picks thread in Discord. So That's what it is, guys. Great stream tonight. Again, I appreciate all of you for your contributions to the channel. I appreciate you guys supporting me all season long. We're coming down to the final stretch. We've got a month and a half left of me making a lot of content on this channel before we go into off-season mode. I mean, really, it's like 2 months. I make content up until February 1st, really. So it's been a great time with you guys so far this year, though. And I'm glad you guys are all still engaged. We had 200 plus people on the stream all night. So again, thank you for being here. And I will see you in the next one. Go Big Red.